So we are focusing on indices and their laws and how they can be applied to mathematical problems. So now when you're looking at the laws of indices, these are some of the most popular laws that we use in math to work out different operations. So the first one says a raised to the 0 power is equal to 1, meaning any number in math that you raise to the 0 power will always give you a value of 1. Second one says a raised to the power of n in a bracket raised to the power of m is the same thing as saying a raised to the n multiplied by m. So once you see a 2 powers like this being multiplied, you can simply work it out as this to say that whatever the two numbers of the powers are, you multiply those together and then you multiply the base in the question by itself this amount of times. Next one says a raised to n multiplied by a raised to m is the same thing as saying that a is raised to the first index plus the second index power. Fourth rule, the nth square root of a is the same thing as saying a raised to the 1 over n or a raised to the negative nth power. So you just simply multiply the number like this in a fractional form or find the square root of the number. And it's the same thing. Now this one says a raised to the m in the nth root, or the nth root of a raised to m is the same thing as dividing the top power, the power underneath the square root sign, by the number in the nth root or the square root sign. So m over n, and you raise the base by that power. The final one says a raised to n divided by a raised to m is equal to a raised to n minus m. So you just simply subtract the powers from each other. So the rules by themselves are somewhat complicated if you don't see them being applied. So here are some different examples that I'll explain using some of these rules. So the first question says 2 open bracket a raised to the second a square or a raised to the second power times b close bracket raised to the third power. So now if you look at this part, so everything, I'll just remove the 2 for now. So look at this part. This rule seems more familiar or similar to this. A raised to m n times m. So you realize that you have the variables inside and then there's a power on the outside. And so I'll just put back the 2 now so you don't forget it. So this would basically be saying 2, then you have a. So apply the rules, n multiplied by m, so it's a squared times, and then you have a 3 there, then you have a b now, and the power of b, once you see a variable by itself, the power is always 1. So it would be b raised to the first power times 3. So we put the power on the inside basically. So now you will work out what's on the inside of a bracket. So to work out what's in the bracket now, it's simply saying a 2 times 3, that gives you 6. B is 1 times 3, so that's 3. And you put back your bracket and you have your 2. So that concludes this one, how you would work out what's in this question. Now let's attempt question number 2 now. Negative 3 squared plus negative 2 to the third power equals. Now once you see an index of this form, it means that whatever is in the bracket must be multiplied by itself by the index amount of times. So negative 3 to the second power means multiply negative 3 by negative 3. So negative 3 multiplied by negative 3, that will give you a positive 9. And you put back your sign that is between, so that's plus. Now negative 2 to the third power, it means multiplying negative 2 by itself 3 times. So negative 2 times negative 2, that gives you positive 4. Positive 4 times negative 2, that gives you negative 8. So you put your negative 8. Now the rules of integers says once you have two opposite signs, you will go with the negative sign. So it's saying 9 minus 8 equals, so 9 minus 8 equals 1. And that would be applying that rule. So this is a normal application of integer. So it doesn't have to take in these laws because it's just a normal operation. Now this one, it says 3m squared times n to the third multiplied by 4mn squared. So now this rule would take in effect this. So you multiply the numbers, so it would be 3 times 4, that would give you 12. Now m squared times m is basically saying m to the second power plus 1, because once you see a number by a variable by itself, the power is always 1. And then you would have your n, this is n cubed, so you put your 3, plus n to the second power, which would be 2. So now when you have it like this, you can simply simplify it to say that this means 12m, 2 plus 1, that gives you 3, so you put your 3 there. And then you have n again, so you put your n, and 3 plus 2, that gives you 5. And that concludes that question. Now number 4, this says x squared to the third power. So looking at this question, you automatically would be able to just look over on this rule side and see which of these laws would be most applicable to that question. And that would be number 2's law. So it would be equal. So because it says whatever is in it, you will write it back. So that's x. Then it says multiply the two variables by each other. So it would be 2 multiplied by 3. And that would give you 6. And that's it. This one is somewhat similar, so you would already know what to do. So this says 8a squared. So it means that whatever is in the bracket, you'll be multiplying it by itself 2 times. So it would be equal to basically saying 8a multiplied by 8a. So it's 8 times 8 because the numbers or the coefficients, you'll always multiply those together. So 8 times 8, that gives you 64. And then a times a gives you a squared, and you would be finished with that. Now for the final question now, it says 2 raised to the 6 divided by 2 raised to the 2, or 2 squared. So looking over on this side, which law would you see that is most applicable? And it would be this final law where it says a raised to the n divided by a to the m equal a n minus m. So you just simply say, use this part of it to say a raised to n minus 2. So you just write back your big 2, then you say 6 minus 2, which is equal to 2 raised to the 4th power. So if they say leave it in index form, you just leave it here. But if they want the final answer, you just simply work out what is 2 by itself 4 times. So you would say 2 times 2 gives you 4. 4 times 2 gives you 8. 8 times 2 gives you 16. And you'll be able to get the final answer if they want it just as a whole number and not in index form. So please note that even though I wrote these laws in this order, where you see 1 matching to a raised to 0 equal 1, when you go to different sites, when your teachers are teaching it to you, they may give it in different orders, because it's not like this was the first rule that was derived. No, this was just placed in a random order. So different places you go, you'll be seeing the rules in different order. So you will have to just try to memorize the rules itself and not the order in which they fall. So just keep practicing. Try to memorize the laws and how they are applied, and you'll be able to basically become a master of working with index or indices. So thanks for watching, and tune in again with Mr. Brown in order to learn other mathematical concepts.